I'm Justine McCleery, and you're listening to Sweet Success.
You've just checked in to Sweet Success. Join me, Katie Cline, for exclusive conversations with hotel executives, hospitality leaders, and industry innovators. Together, we'll uncover the strategies and techniques these masters of hospitality relentlessly refine. Whether you're already in the industry or just starting out, tune in every week to unlock the secret to your sweet success. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Sweet Success. I'm your host, Katie Cline, and today I am thrilled to welcome to the show Justine McCleery. Justine is the general manager of the Dominick Hotel, the only independent hotel in New York with the exclusive Five Diamond accolade from AAA. If you search hotels with the best view of New York City, the Dominick is always top of the list, and Justine has been with the property for more than a decade. Her career in hospitality began at the Art Institute of New York City, where she studied culinary arts and restaurant management. She's held various positions throughout the industry, from front desk agent to operations to training and quality, and now, of course, the top role at the Dominick. Justine, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Katie.
I know we covered a lot in that introduction, but from your perspective, tell us how you got started in hospitality.
Sure. As you mentioned, I started with a degree in culinary arts, thinking I would be the next celebrity chef. I interned just down the street at a restaurant at 60 Thompson, and then later decided I was ready for a change and wanted to try my hand in some restaurant front of house experience. By pure chance, one of my friends was a front desk agent at the Ritz Carlton in Central Park. And we were talking, and he mentioned what a great experience he was having. And I said, "Oh, sounds like an amazing opportunity. Do you think they would consider me if there was another opening at the front desk?" I said, "Please keep me in mind," just thinking that it would be, just a joke. And lo and behold, he calls me later on and says, "Hey, somebody left. We have an opening. I sent your resume to HR, and here I am." I never looked back.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, you've had just the most incredible career progression from starting as a line cook, moving to front desk agent, as you just touched on there, then director of training and quality, director of ops, a hotel manager, and now, of course, the general manager. I think this is super inspiring. And what I love about it is this is something that's not entirely uncommon in the hospitality industry. Do you think that this is one of the last industries where people can truly work their way up?
No, I think that's what makes this a really exciting industry to join. There's so many different facets in a hotel, and you can come in thinking, "I want to be a front desk agent and move myself up," but then like me, decide you want to try your hand in training and quality. And so there's many different areas and avenues that you could try before you find that path. There's many of my colleagues in the industry and many managers who work in the hotel who have started as a line level associate, whether in the front of house or night auditor, and kind of look at where they are today. So lots of exciting opportunities.
Having held many roles in hotels, how does that affect the way that you manage and motivate your team today?
Sure. I think it helps me appreciate what every single employee does in the hotel, whether that's the steward cleaning the kitchen or the room attendant who prepares the rooms for our guests every day. It's really important for me that I spend time with the employees and get to know them and stop and ask them how they're doing. But also that the best ideas come from the employees who interact with our guests every single day, whether they have a process improvement for the hotel or they have a service idea that we could implement at the hotel. So, I only learn about that and we learn about that through conversations we have with the employees every single day.
And when you look across the industry, I'm sure, there's many groups or meetings that you're part of where you're with a lot of other general managers. Do you feel like there's an imbalance in women in hotel leadership, or how does that appear to you?
I think it's a really exciting time that there are more and more women general managers when that was uncommon years ago. So I think we're going to see more and more of women rise in leadership within hotels, which is really exciting.
Definitely. Something that I thought was really intriguing about your story is you grew up in the Philippines and you only moved to New York after high school. when you were studying at the Art Institute of New York. So I just have to ask you, what was that transition like?
Not as daunting, I think, as what everybody thought. Even my mother, I remember, was a bit concerned, saying, "Is any of this shocking to you?" I think what I remember the most during that transition is overcoming New York City subway. And for those who have never ridden the subway, this is pre Google Maps era.
Mhm.
Understanding where uptown versus downtown goes. But as far as the rest of the transition, I found it just to be exciting to be in a city that is a melting pot that has all these different options for dining, for shopping, everything.
And even with Google Maps, I think the subway is, still daunting to navigate to many of us, even some of us who've lived here for a very long time, so you're not alone in that one.
Definitely.
When you started studying, your degree was going to be in culinary arts and restaurant management. I loved how you said you thought you were going to be the next celebrity chef. Obviously, you're not specifically in food and beverage today, but I know the hotel has Michelin-starred restaurant and an incredible in-room dining program. So how do you feel like your degree has still affected your career to this day?
In culinary school and in a lot of kitchens, there's a word or phrase or term that they use called mise en place. Have you heard of that? So
No.
mise en place is a French term, and what it translates to is everything in its place. And in
Okay.
culinary school, they teach you that by saying you need to make sure that everything is in place, right? From your prep, you're working in a kitchen in a very high paced environment in a short burst of time. And so you really need to make sure that your prep is ready, that your station is ready, that you have backup for your backup. Because during service, right, during that crunch time, you don't have a lot of time to remake something if it's missing. And so that's the one thing I think that I take to heart and something that I apply every day. Mise en place is not just your preparation and what you have in your workspace, but also mentally preparing, whether
Mhm.
that's for the day, for the week, for the month, and also reassessing, at the end of the day to say, what went well? Service was really busy today. Did I have everything? Could I have planned better? Should I have more backup? And I take that really to heart in every single thing that I do every day. That can be applied to meetings and to organizing the workday, to the hotel in terms of what we're planning for the week, for the month, or for the year, even, as we close the year and think about 2025 and what does 2025 programming for the hotel look like.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's like some good life advice right there. Mise en place.
Yes.
I'm probably mispronouncing it, but I like it. So, in addition to New York, after leaving the Philippines, I know that you lived in California and in Texas for a minute. And the ability to live and work in other countries or cities is again one of my favorite things about this industry. How did your experiences in those states differ from New York? Or do you feel like good hospitality is just universal?
I think that's what makes this an exciting career path or industry to choose from is that, hospitality is universal while every state has their own nuances in terms of the type of culture. And, I don't think anybody walked as fast as I did in California or Texas. Um, but for the most part, what you do in New York City and what you apply in a hotel in New York City is the same you would do in Los Angeles or in Texas. It was a great experience, great learning.
Yeah, and something that I see as kind of a through line in your career is that you've always worked for really incredible luxury hotels. What is it about the luxury market that you gravitate towards most? I imagine it's a lot to be entrusted with an asset like that.
Definitely. I think what I enjoy the most about being in luxury properties is really getting the opportunity to get to know our individual guests,
Mm.
personalizing that experience for them, knowing who your clients are and what do they like from the little things. Do you have a repeat guest that prefers a certain line in the hotel because it has a specific view of the city or a specific closet space that they enjoy when they're traveling? All those little details that are important to them and that become important to us. And we're entrusted to make sure that throughout their stay, whether they come once a month or every quarter, that, we have those profile notes and we're able to execute upon them. And the guest doesn't have to ask us again, right?
Right. It's that anticipatory service.
Definitely.
Right. So, and personalization might be a kind of answer to this, but I wanted to ask you, how do you distinguish the Dominic from other luxury hotels in the city?
That's a great question. I think, as you said, personalization for sure. I think
Okay.
being in an independent hotel in Soho positions us in a very unique way. We're
Mhm.
able to toe the line between, a traditional luxury experience, but also infusing it with a lot of the fun things that Soho has to offer, whether it's from, art, shopping. I think we're able to be nimble and adjust our service depending on what the guest is looking for and who they're with, right? A corporate guest is going to have very different needs than somebody who's here traveling with their family for the first time in New York City. So we're really able to tailor their experiences based on who they are.
Yeah, and kind of honing in on that nimbleness that you just touched on. How are you able to stay current with the trends or developments that are happening in the luxury hotel market or even the New York City luxury hotel market to maintain the hotel's competitive edge when you're surrounded by, some of the other really great luxury brands and properties of the world in New York City?
Yeah, I think it's a balance of listening and understanding who our guests are and what are they looking for when they're staying
Mhm.
at the hotel, and also, looking at, trends not just within hospitality, but overall in general. Now as there's more and more focus on AI, and AI being one of those things that could potentially make our life easier, how do you incorporate some of that or even just some technology, right? Into the hotel. I look at it as what are the things that our guests could potentially have in their homes or would enjoy
Mhm.
in their homes, and how can we replicate that or give them some of those pieces in the hotel.
Mhm. It's really interesting what you're talking about with AI and technology, and it leads really well to my next question about guest expectations. And I imagine throughout your tenure, you've seen that really shift, whether that be in New York or California or Texas, wherever you were working at the time. But have you seen that shift, or is it more just, we expect the staying currentness of working with the right technology and empowering your services with AI now, and it's actually the expectation at the end of the day is the same?
I think that the post COVID world, I know we don't want to talk about COVID too much, but the post COVID world, I think, has taught us or shown us that people really value more time or have more focus into spending more time with their families, right? And so we're seeing multi generational travel emerge post COVID, and this leisure mindset of how do you mix, some corporate travel with some leisure. Again, I think keeping in mind that our guests are focused on maximizing their time with their family, and what does, the experiential component look like, right? Hotels, I think many years ago are seen as just a place for you to store your bags and put your head in to sleep on, versus today where people are looking to hotels as, of course, the place to stay, but also what are the experiential things, what are the unique things that I could get either at the hotel or within close proximity, or maybe an amenity, the hotel has with a partner nearby that would be exciting or intriguing for them.
Yeah. I want to pick up on what you said around multi-generational travel. I think it's such an important, focus for the industry overall, but have you seen that to be true at the Dominic, and how do you cater to multi-generational visitors?
Sure, definitely. We've seen a rise in that over the last couple years, and one of the beautiful things about the hotel is we have nice, spacious rooms. Our rooms start at about 425 square feet. We have a
Mm,
lot of rooms that have two-bedroom components. So you could book a suite with a connecting king room. So great for family. So you have a separate
right.
sitting area as well as separate bathrooms if you're traveling with families. So you have a lot of space to really either hang out in the room together and be able to experience all the great things about Soho, walking through all the shops, looking at art galleries, if that's something of interest to you. And so those are things I think that are really important to the guest. And and having, other wellness components, of course, whether it's the fitness facility with our new techno gym equipment. We have a seasonal outdoor pool that's really popular in the summer months with cabanas that guests can book for their families, and anything else that the guests may need, whether it's restaurant reservations or tickets to a show that they wanted to see, or tickets to a museum. Our concierge team can assist with that.
Right, absolutely. I couldn't agree more, especially, traveling with my family. I see exactly what you said. The fact that the layouts of the room are so conducive to multi-generational groups, or being able to have my daughter in one room and not have the bedtime for myself, that's something we've seen someone like Airbnb market quite heavily. But you're right, hotels are just as able, if not more so, to deliver on these things. But speaking of Airbnb, we did see short-term rentals, or Airbnb is effectively banned in New York City about a year ago. I'm wondering if that's affected New York City hotels at all. Have you seen an increase in occupancy rate or ADR, or, is that just a completely different traveler?
Definitely. I think with the ban on short-term rentals with Airbnb, that's allowed for more occupancy in all the New York City hotels. So I think I'd say we have all benefited from it.
In the heart of Soho, New York City's arts and culture hub, lies your luxurious escape, the Dominick Hotel. Experience unparalleled amenities, including king size beds, spacious rooms, a fully equipped fitness center, a seasonal rooftop pool, and the renowned Sisley Spa. Savor Hawaiian inspired bites and cocktails at Terrace on 7, or innovative dishes at the Michelin starred Vestry. Book today using special code SUCCESS, that's SUCCESS, for 20% off your next stay of 2 nights or more in a suite through the end of the year. Visit thedominickhotel.com to book. The Dominick, where every moment is an indulgence. Okay, wow. One of the things that Airbnb likes to tout is the neighborhood experience, but I think what you've touched on is the Dominic is able to deliver that in Soho as well as, if not better. I know it's something that you and the team work really hard on. How does the hotel integrate and contribute to the neighborhood, or to the community of Soho?
Definitely. We are right across the street from God's Love We Deliver, which is a
Yeah.
great charity that delivers meals to any homebound New Yorkers. So we actively participate in that, whether it's through our time, and we go for 4 hours for kitchen prep, which all our team enjoy,
Wow.
or we donate funds annually towards the cause to benefit that. We also partner with Hudson Square Bid, which are part of the Hudson Square Bid neighborhood. We're also looking into, of course, trying to enhance our partnerships with local businesses. We had partnered with Dog Pound, which is a local gym nearby. So they've this past summer just started doing some wellness classes in the hotel, and we have a sound bathing experience for our guests as well with Lucio Luminate.
That's very cool. You have to tell me a bit more about sound bathing, because I've heard so much about it. I'm desperate to try it. Have you yourself done it? What made you guys think this is perfect for our guests?
Definitely. I think we look at the hotel as a resort because of the outdoor
Mm.
pool and a lot of the resort-like amenities during the summer. And as the focus has been for our guests, wellness and trying to find a way to integrate wellness into their travel, which again,
Mm.
years ago was not a common thing. We thought, what are some things that we could offer our guests? And sound bathing is the one thing we thought, would be a nice experience. You can be outside in the pool deck, enjoy a sound bathing experience. And shortly, we will be able to offer that in room for our guests as well. So you could even do
Wow.
sound bathing in your room at the hotel.
That is very cool. I have to say, your pool is exceptional. I mean, talk about feeling like you're not in New York City anymore. That I can see the resort experience coming alive right there alone.
Yes, it's a great amenity, and as you
Mhm.
said, something that is unique to New York City. I enjoy it every summer, and most guests who go up there say, "Oh my God, I didn't know that this was here," and
Yeah.
what an exciting place to be. It's a good balance of fun and active, but also you feel like you're away from all the craziness of New York City.
Exactly. You're in literally in the heart of it all, but then first a few elevator ride away, a few floors away, and all of a sudden you are in, I don't know, south of France or Italy or something. It's just
Definitely,
gorgeous.
definitely.
And I know on that floor you also have a Sicily spa. So what made you think that that would be the right spa partner for your guests, and how does that enhance the overall guest experience?
Sure. We thought what a great brand to partner with. Sicily, of course, has great product, a great following. And so when this opportunity came about, we thought, why wouldn't this be a natural fit to us, right? It's a
Yeah.
luxury brand, great following, not just in New York City, but internationally as well. They're in all your luxury retailers. It's a great product if you haven't ever tried any Sicily products. And we thought, this would really help elevate the guest experience and celebrate the brand overall.
Yeah, I think all of this just really fits nicely back to what you touched on earlier about the experiential component. People aren't just necessarily choosing a hotel for a place to sleep at night, right? They're looking at it as a full experience, or at least someone to open the door for them to the neighborhood, someone to teach them the things in Soho that they didn't know about that they couldn't just find on a quick Google search.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I really like what you're doing with God's Love We Deliver. I actually had a chance to volunteer with them a really long time ago at the beginning of my career when I was working for Michael Kors, the fashion designer. He's very
Yes.
involved with that charity. And they just do incredible work, as you mentioned, creating fresh food, delivering it to those that are in need or those with health ailments, and really just shows your how ingrained you guys are in the neighborhood. It's not just a great location, which you absolutely have, but you're really, making your impact.
Right, definitely. It's important to us to be good neighbors and, like you said, not just be, a transient hotel, but, be a place where our neighbors could come and also it gives our employees such great joy whenever they're able to give back to the community, whether through, donations or raising funds or donating their time. So I get at least a request once every quarter from one of our employees to say, "That was so fun. When are we going back? We need to go back." Even though at the end of the 4-hour kitchen shift, they said, "Oh my God, that was really hard work, but also, very fulfilling and very satisfying for everybody."
Yeah, they can see directly what the impact of that time is going to lead to.
Yes, definitely.
I imagine you must have the most international cross section of visitors coming to the hotel, just knowing who would be attracted to New York City in general, but then, of course, to your property. Do you find any challenges with that? Or maybe are there similarities that no matter where your guests are from, they're all looking for XYZ?
I think that every guest, no matter where they're coming from, is looking for a great experience. They want to
Mm.
be acknowledged at the door. They want to be taken care of. Yes, there may be some language barriers, but thank goodness today with technology, right? You can use your phone, you can use Google Translate to help you translate anything that a guest may need. I think, hospitality, as you mentioned earlier, it's universal, right? We may all speak a different language, but that smile, it breaks through even if we don't speak the same language per se. Sometimes you have to do sign language. Sometimes it's, writing something or showing something on your phone. But somehow, we still manage to bridge the gap and make sure that ultimately the guests want to be taken care of. And that's what we're here for, to show them that they have nothing to worry about and we're here to cater to every single need that they may have.
And your doormen are top notch. For any listener who doesn't know, the cover photo of this podcast was taken at the Dominick Hotel. And talk about making me feel like I was special. And I saw them do that for every single person who walked through your doors. But you're right. It's that initial welcome, that initial hello, that initial smile that makes you feel at ease and like you're at your home away from home.
Definitely. It's uncanny how good the memory is that they remember every single guest, where they went, what time they're coming back. If they haven't seen them for several months or a few years, they'll remember you.
And how quickly they can build a relationship. Like I learned that one of them lives in Astoria, where I know you used to live and I currently
Yes.
live. And I mean,
Yes.
we had probably 2 minutes together, and yet they left this really lasting impression on me.
Yes, definitely. I bet you that was Merrick.
I think it was. I think it was. He was wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, last question I want to ask you before we move into the final three questions that we ask everyone is, do you have any predictions for the future of hospitality?
Think as technology gets more and more ingrained in our life, I think hotels will look into, finding ways to incorporate technology into the guest experience, whether that's ordering something through your iPad, as that's become our norm now
Mhm.
post COVID, or again, just finding the little comforts that our guests have at home and how can we integrate that into their hotel experience.
Absolutely. Okay. So if we move into our final round now, this is going to be a big one, I imagine. But what was the best hospitality experience that you've ever had?
The big question.
Hmm.
I've had so many. I think the one that I remember the most, I was staying at a luxury property. I was actually shopping a hotel that I was going to work for. And they had complimentary coffee with multiple coffees and sugar in the works, right? So I have a bit of a sweet tooth. There's one particular coffee that I like, and I like to use a lot of regular sugar, not brown, but white. And I left for the day, and when I came back, I said, "Oh, I'm really tired. It's been a long day. I wanted to get a cup of coffee." And I noticed that the room attendant had put extra pods of the specific coffee that I like to drink, and she put extra sugars for me. And I
Wow.
thought, "Wow, this is somebody who I haven't seen, right?" There was
Mhm.
a stayover service, and she noticed just from looking at, the coffee replenishment and really paying attention to me. And I think that has stuck with me. It's been several years since then. And it's those little moments, I think, that we do as hoteliers or employees do every single day that say to our guests, I see you as an individual. I know
Mhm.
what your preferences are. I pay attention. I care about you. That's really what is memorable to them. Of course, the big grand gestures are important and they create the wow, but I think it's the little things, those are what stick to people. At least that's really what I remember the most.
I agree. I mean, the fact that they weren't just going through a checklist and going through the motions, but took the time to pay attention to what you had discarded and said, okay, clearly that's what she likes. I mean,
Right.
that's incredible.
Yeah, definitely.
So, on the flip side of that, what was the worst hospitality experience you've ever had?
I try not to dwell on those because, I know everybody has a bad day, right? And things happen. Some things are outside of our control. The ones I think that I remember the most are, I've had two experiences actually, two different chain restaurants, which I won't name, where I've had to wait an hour and a half for food. And the staff are it's not terribly busy. The staff's kind of milling around, they're chit-chatting, they don't pay attention to you. And I think it's either a combination of being hangry and also
Hmm.
the fact that no one seems to care.
Yeah,
That, now several years later, if my husband says, one day, hey, let's go eat at whatever this chain restaurant, that I'm like, no, absolutely not. I'll go
never.
anywhere else. We'll do whatever
Yeah.
you want, but I just not will not go to the same place. So I think that's really important, right? Not so much the food, but I think the fact that people don't care and they're just kind of chit chatting.
Yeah. And as you said, we're human. We all have bad days. We all have off days. But if you happen to have a bad day or an off day and that affects someone's experience, they very well might be like yourself and say, I'm never going back there again. Like that
Right.
was the one chance and you didn't hit the mark. So, final question for you. What does hospitality mean to you? And is there anyone, could be a person or any brand that you think has truly mastered it, in addition to the Dominic, of course?
Sure. Hospitality to me is welcoming my best friend who I haven't seen in several years, or my mom who I haven't seen in a few years, come to my home. And what are the things that I do to welcome them, right? It's shopping for all the snacks or the different kind of milks that they like to drink with their coffee, putting an itinerary together, cleaning my house like a crazy person and making
Mhm.
sure that I have, towels, toiletries, whatever they would need. I think, if we apply that same effort and time to every single guest that we welcome into the hotel, we would have made that a successful visit for every single guest and a really memorable one, right? I can't think of anybody to say that they've perfected it only because we are always our worst critic. We
Mhm.
can have a great guest experience and say, wow, that guest just, wrote us this great review, had a great experience. And then you're saying, but what else could we have done to make that better? How can we repeat that same thing? Right. So all of us, I think, in the industry are always striving to do better, to do more, to improve, to be consistent, which is, I think, our constant challenge, right? Is the consistency, but also being able to adjust, your level of service for different guests, right? Different guests have different needs, and being able to, read between all of those. Some things are nonverbal cues. How do I know if someone had a really terrible flight and they're very cranky because they haven't slept in 24 hours and they don't want me to chat with them for 10 minutes at the front desk, knowing that. I think we're always looking for ways to perfect what we do, but, we're always our worst critic.
Yeah, it's even when we deliver on those moments, it's like, well, how can we do it better next time? We can't even
Yes.
allow ourselves to be like, good job, pat on the back. But
Right.
how do we make
Yeah.
sure we've standardized it so we're always doing that?
Correct. Correct. You're like, that's great. But what else could we have done better? And how can we repeat the same thing? And now we want everybody to do the same.
Yeah. Well, Justine, it's been such a pleasure to speak with you today. Thank you for sharing just your hospitality genius with us and for being here today.
Thank you so much, Katie, for your time.
All right, everyone, it's time for today's sweet summary, where I break down the key insights and actionable takeaways from today's conversation. Speaking to Justine today was so insightful. She is a true master of her craft, leading a top notch team to cater to its guests of nearly 400 rooms and suites. I liked her focus on being a good neighbor, something that is evident through the hotel's work with the charity God's Love We Deliver. You can tell this is not a marketing gimmick. This is something that the hotel dedicates time, resources, and money to support. And something that, as Justine said, really resonates with her staff. I also liked her definition of hospitality, all the things we do when we're hosting our mom or our best friend: buy the snacks that they like, stock the fridge with their preference in milk, create an itinerary for them, clean like crazy, and make sure the good linens and toiletries are left out. It ties in nicely to the best hospitality experience she ever had, that someone took the time out of their day to notice her likes, her preferences. That wasn't necessarily in their job description. They could have just refilled the predetermined quantities, and Justine probably wouldn't have thought anything of it. But that person saw an opportunity to over deliver. And thus, here Justine is still talking about it. Overall, my favorite lesson from Justine is mise en place. And yes, you'll have to excuse my poor French pronunciation, but this culinary principle of everything in its place is so fitting for our industry. To Justine, this means the physical objects of her workspace. It means her mental space and setting herself up for success. And it means the ability to constantly reassess what went well and what could be improved upon. Because in hospitality, as in life, it's often the preparation and organization that is the most accurate predictor of future success.